Grandma used to take me outside and let me play in the dirt. And then she taught me how to plant tulips and pull weeds and harvest tomatoes. She taught me that the garden is a place to go to have fun, but it's also a refuge. My name's Josh Schneider. Welcome to the First Time Gardener. Gardening is the most popular and inclusive pastime in America today. And I'll tell you why I think that is. At my garden center, my customers would come in over the course of 7 or 8 years and they would tell me stories about how their garden was really a place of refuge. It was a way they escaped from the hustle and bustle of their everyday lives, getting away, relaxing, unwinding, and enjoying the little oasis they created for themselves with tranquility and peace. But you know what? Not everybody has that little bit of paradise. And maybe you don't have your little piece of paradise yet either. But I'll tell you, it's not that hard to build it. And I'm going to show you some tricks and make it easy for you to get your own refuge in your place. Now, one of the first things you need to know is about the plants. You need to do a little exploration and figure out whether the plants like sun or shade. It's a very basic thing, but a lot of people don't think about it. For instance, this symphony daisy is a great plant, but it just hates being in the shade. It loves full sun all day, and if it doesn't have it, the flowers won't open. So that's important to know before you go planting it somewhere where it won't do well. This plant, Angelface angelonia, is one of my favorites. It's also called Brazilian snapdragon. Now, what I like about this plant is it takes heat and humidity really well, but it insists on a lot of sun. Now, how can you figure out about this plant, what it needs without being a botanical expert? You can look at the tag that comes with the plant. These tags have all sorts of good information on them, and so you can look at that even before you buy the plant. So not everybody has the same situation or climate or space in their garden to fill. But oh, this is a great plant. This is called Nemesia bluebird. My customers at my garden center used to call it amnesia. And I'd say, well, I forgot where I put it, but let me go look. It's a fantastic plant. So if you don't have sun, maybe you've got shade. Well, shade is a nebulous thing and people get a little intimidated by it. This is a great plant that does well in the sun, but it also does great in part shade. Now, part shade would be defined as maybe an eastern exposure, where it gets some sun in the morning, but it's shady in the afternoon. Not every plant can handle hot afternoon sun. It's generally only those plants that like the full sun. And this Laguna lobelia does well in sun, but it really will be beautiful in the shade. And I love it in red, white, and blue containers. One of the best things about gardening, I think, is that you get to play with a lot of fun tools. And who doesn't love good garden tools that work? One of my favorite tools is a soil scoop. It's kind of a hybrid between a shovel, a rake, a hoe, and a trowel. And it's easy because it fits right into your hand. You can get in around plants and scratch around them. You can plant, you can rake, you can yank out weeds with it. It is a great tool that will make your life easier. For more information on any of the subjects we've covered in today's show, go to our website at DIYnet.com. Coming up next on The First Time Gardener, it's not always warm, beautiful weather. What can you do in the fall? I'll show you how to create a big, gorgeous, moss-covered hanging basket that will flower from spring right through the fall. And then we're going to learn how to transform a boring walkway into a lush entrance that will actually add to your property value. All this and more next on The First Time Gardener. It's a bulb. When you think of plant bulbs, you probably think of tulips or daffodils, or maybe even an onion. But bulbs come in a huge array of shapes and sizes and colors. They're really fantastic, but a lot of people are afraid to try them because that little brown potato sitting at the garden center looks nothing like what you want it to look like. It's a little bit of a leap of faith, but I guarantee one that will be rewarded. You take that little rechargeable battery of a plant and put it in the ground or in a pot, and it's going to come up at just the right time, exploding into color and beauty. It's going to make you look like a gardening genius. Fall is a fantastic time of year. It's great to be outside. You just feel alive again after the heat of summer has passed. It's great weather and just good times. But I have a problem. As I'm getting ready to have a cookout, all my containers, frankly, look horrible. The summer has not been kind to them. The petunias are leggy and yellow, and the impatiens are tall, and the flowers are small. It's just not worth hanging on to them, but what do? Well, I'll tell you, with good plant selection, you can redo your containers in August and early September, even into October, and they will last all the way up to, and sometimes even beyond, Christmas. The key is plant selection. We've got to pick the right plants, and I'm going to tell you how to do that, to put a little bit of magic in your fall season. Okay, what I've done is I've gone to the garden center and I've gotten a mixture of perennials and annuals and grasses, and it's fabulous. So I bought pots, and I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to show you how. It's really easy. Now, I've got all my plants sort of separated out into foliage colors. So there's sort of the golden foliage and the silver foliage and the purple foliage. And remember, when you're doing gardening, texture and foliage is just as important as color of the flowers. You can't get too obsessed with just flower color. So what are we going to do? Well, I think I want to do gold in this one, and here's an ivy with gold leaves called Gold Star. Now, I know I don't need to remind you of this, but it's really, really important to have good potting soil. Remember, we've talked about soil, and it's really, really important to get the good stuff. Don't skimp on the soil. It's not worth it. So here we take out the tag, and remember to hang on to these tags because they give you all sorts of good information about the plant. We're going to squeeze the root ball a little bit. I want this ivy up in the front because it'll cascade out. Ivies are very frost tolerant. They're great plants, really superb. Now, in order to echo this same color, we've got this golden variegated, and variegated just means different colors on the leaves. This is a wallflower or an erysimum. We're going to squeeze the root ball. We're going to put it sort of back here towards the back, and it's a tall plant. And then this is a sweet flag, a golden sweet flag. What we're doing here is we're building the foundation of the container with the foliage things. So what we've got here is interesting textures, interesting colors, and different sizes so that it moves. This moves when the wind hits it. Now that we've got a lot of foliage here, let's add a little flowers. This is a straw flower, a Sunday's straw flower, or Bracteantha. Sounds like a foot disease, doesn't it? Those Latin names, they can be a little bit scary, but they're really not all that scary. This one is a little bit root bound, so we're going to squeeze the root ball a little bit. We're going to tuck it into the center here. Now see how the colors around it sort of pick up the yellow? It's really nice that way. Now let's see, what else do we need? How about a brown grass? I know you may think this is dead. It really isn't. It's a sedge or a grass-like plant that's native to New Zealand, and this variety is called Toffee Twist. And I'm going to stick it up here in the front because I think it adds an interesting texture, but it's a different color. Now let's see, what else can we have? Maybe some purple foliage. I think this is a coral bell or a heuchera called Stormy Seas. And I'm going to pull it out. Remember, hang on to those tags. Save them so you can go back and get what you like at the garden center the next year. And don't be afraid to practice moving stuff around a little bit if it doesn't quite look right. But this coral bells is actually going to look prettier as the fall wears on and the nights get cool. All of these plants will take a frost. Even this straw flower, because as you can hear, the flowers are dry when they open, and at night they close up. And so a frost won't damage the flowers, and it doesn't damage the leaves either. So this will flower. In fact, in my garden, this flowered all the way up in this, December 20th, December 22nd last year in central Illinois. And let me tell you, it gets cold there in the wintertime. So a few hard freezes won't really bother this plant or any of these. They'll stay gorgeous well into the winter. And so for my money, that's not a half bad deal. If I get September, October, November, and most of December, that's 4 months. May, June, July, August. That's the same what we get out of our annuals in the spring. So hey, no problem. So what we've created here is a container that is going to look good and not embarrass me when my friends come over and make fun of me not being able to have nice looking plants. And it's going to be gorgeous all the way through into the wintertime. What more could you want? It'll make me go outside more. It'll make me want to go outside more because I've created a little bit of Eden on my back deck. Up next on The First Time Gardener, we're going to check out some black plants like this one. I guarantee they'll make your whole garden look brighter. And I go mano a mano with a walkway that's boring. It's a fight that even you can win, I guarantee it. All this and more when you return to The First Time Gardener. Today we're going to talk about hanging baskets, and I'm going to show you how you can make a basket like this for your front porch. I mean, isn't this thing gorgeous? Who wouldn't want that on their porch? Hanging baskets are a great way to take advantage of all the available space in your garden. You can use trailing and cascading plants to create a beautiful garden in the air, right at eye level, and make your front porch the envy of the whole neighborhood. It's a great place for fragrant plants too. We've got some nice plants that we've picked up at a garden center. We've got a good selection. We've got some baskets here. We've got moss. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is why we're going to use a moss basket, which is this nice wire thing, rather than a plastic basket, because moss is easier to use. It holds more water, holds more soil. It'll just make the plant easier to take care of as it gets older. What we've done here is we've taken some long grain woodland moss and soaked it in water so it's easier to apply and use. We're going to pull it out, wring it out like a sponge. We're going to sprinkle it around in this thing. We want to make it really thick. We want to tamp it down and add it here so it'll insulate the plant from extremes of heat and cool and keep the roots nice and steady. Got a little more. We want to make it pretty thick. And so what we've got here is we've got one that's already done, and you can see how it's nicely pushed around here and it's nice and thick. Got a good cavity that'll hold a lot of soil. And here we have one that's already got soil in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some plants like this purple superbena, which I just love, nice big flowers that smell good. And we're going to give the root ball a little bit of a squeeze. We don't have to tear it apart, but just give a little squeeze to help break up the roots and get them started growing out. And a nice Super Bell's Calibrachoa. It's a superb petunia relative that attracts hummingbirds like crazy. We're going to give it a squeeze, a little red in here, adds to. And then the Symphony Osteospermum, the Symphony series is a great daisy. I just love it. This is peach. It's got sort of a peachy color on the throat, and the throat picks up the purple, so it sort of matches together. We're going to stick this next to it, and don't be afraid to sort of dig them down in and shove a little bit. Let's see, we got another verbena here, the superbena. Verbenas are great. Hummingbirds are crazy for these too. I'm going to stick it over here. Got a little too much soil, so we're going to take some out so we can fit more plants in. Let's see. Here's another Symphony Osteospermum. If little bits break off, just pull them off. I'm going to stick these over here. And I like the way that the different flower forms are here. You've got the umbels, or the sort of cushion-like flowers on the verbenas, but extra soil. Here like we're salting. Sprinkle it in. Give it a shake, and that'll help. Shaking it helps the soil settle down in so the roots don't dry out. You don't want to tamp it down too hard, but just shaking it, that helps the soil settle in around the plants so that they get good contact. And what we've created here is this ball of color that's going to be fantastic hanging on a porch or a patio. We're going to hang the chain on it, and then we're going to go hang it up and show you just what it's going to look like hanging on the side of the house. All right, we've got our basket. All we've got to do is hang it up and water it. We're going to hang it up here on a good sturdy hanger. We've got this blank wall with some pots down below, but we really needed something to cut down on the vastness of the space. We've got this gorgeous hanging basket. We've got our water with some fertilizer in it. We're going to feed this guy and make it grow into a beautiful moss basket that is just going to be covered in color all season long. Perfection. Change is good and not too difficult. With a little pre-planning, you'll learn how to transform a stark walkway into a lush entrance. Watch and learn next on The First Time.
Cool new plants.
Black plants have been a well-kept secret in horticulture for years, but they're beginning to become more and more popular because people are discovering how great they are for adding depth and texture to the garden. They look mysterious and dramatic, and they make surrounding plants look even brighter. Some of my favorites are Colocasia Black Magic, which is a black-leafed elephant ear, or Coleus merlot, a dark purple coleus that's fantastic in containers. These plants are so easy to grow, and they'll make every garden look beautiful.
Cool new plants.
When you have a beautiful home or a lovely garden, you want to invite people in. And I think the way to do that is to dress up the walkway a little bit. Now, one of the best ways to dress up the walkway is to use plants. Whether in containers or in the ground, they will make your walkway look beautiful and encourage people to come in. And at my friend Fred's place, we're gonna doll up his entryway. We're gonna try to invite people into his back garden and make it beautiful.
Well, Josh, what do you think?
Well, Fred, before we get started, I would like to thank you for having us. I can see you've got some challenges here, and I think what we want to do is try and create a little more welcoming space as people come in. And I can see the foundation over here. We could possibly hide that using a planting, or we can edge the walkway with something, not taking out too much sod, and then lead that up to some containers. Plantings are a great way, I think, to encourage people to look and move beyond. It also adds value to your house. Creating a more welcoming space will encourage people. When you list your house, realtors love enticing walkways. So it's a nice way to add value to your house if you're looking to sell it at some point in the future. But I think this is going to be pretty simple, actually. It looks a little daunting, but the nice thing about it is it's a nice blank piece of canvas that we can start painting on. So why don't we get started?
Okay.
Just right there. So what we want to do here in Fred's space is to make it attractive and to draw the eye up by planting both in the ground and in containers. Now we've tilled the ground up and added amendments here, so it's ready to plant. We can use things like coleus and verbenas and petunias, a variety of colors and flowers and textures to really make it interesting so that people's eyes are drawn down and onto the plants, and it leads them up and through the gate into the back garden. All right, I think I'm going to put this here.
What kind of plant is that?
It's Sedum Angelina is the name of it. It's a great sedum that's got this great gold color in it. I love the contrast here between the purple leaves of this Hibiscus acetosella, or red shield hibiscus, and the gold here. So I think it'll be really nice. I think this is shaping up really nice, Fred.
Sure is. Looks beautiful.
And it didn't take us hardly any time at all.
It's amazing.
All these plants that are massed here are really fantastic. Now, the key to keeping them looking good is to fertilize them about once a week with a water-soluble fertilizer, because the potting soil that they're planted in doesn't hold a whole lot of nutrients, so you want to keep the fertilizer coming to them. And then fertilize these as well. We've mixed in some potting soil, which has a lot of peat moss, and this horticultural popcorn, which is perlite. And we've mixed that in, so that'll help these grow really well. You want to feed these too while you're feeding those, and what'll happen is these are a verbena called superbena, and they really are vigorous growers, so they'll get about this tall and make a hedge almost here. So it'll be really nice. It'll lead your eye as you come in right up the path, right to the gate. It'll be really nice. But remember, the feeding and the watering is important, so you want to keep them consistent. And these are all mixed. There's some coleus in here that is superb, and some ornamental grass mixed in with the calibrachoa or super bells on both sides. The colors are similar, but the textures are very different. And so it makes it, I think, very visually interesting to look at it. Each day it'll be something new that you notice, but they'll all keep growing and getting more and more gorgeous. Transformed a beautiful walkway from a stark walkway in almost no time flat. Well, I know we've covered a lot of ground today, but before you go, I'd like to leave you with one last tip. And that is, the key to your success as a first-time gardener is to know your growing season or your zone. Now, you can go to our website and download this USDA zone map at www.diynet.com, or you can call your county extension agent. They're listed in the phone book, and they've got all sorts of good information about what grows well in your area. I'm Josh Schneider. I'll see you next time.